The Ford F-150 is the best-selling vehicle in the US of all time. I didn't say best-selling car. I didn't say best-selling truck. I said best-selling vehicle. On average, Ford sells 2 trucks every minute. Americans love the F-150, but how did that happen? Why is America's most popular car a truck? Well, you're about to find out, partner. This is everything you need to know to get up to speed on the Ford F-150. Yeehaw! Ford's been building trucks for a long ass time. Their first truck debuted in 1917 when Ford offered a cargo-focused version of the Model T. Ever heard of it? They called this the Model TT. It was basically a Model T with a bed. In 1926, they updated the design with their new Model AA. It had a sturdier frame and its wheels were made from steel, not wooden spokes like the Model T. Despite the fact that the automobile was a relatively new invention, Americans warmly embraced the newfound utility of the pickup truck. Farmers used the Model TT and AA to haul their harvest into town. Business owners could easily transport their merchandise, and emergency services could now react in a fraction of the time. The truck legitimately changed the lives of millions of Americans, and Ford was largely responsible. Ford continued to build their trucks until the Second World War, when they focused all production on war effort by building tanks and bombers and shit like that. The F-Series trucks, as we know them, began in 1948 after the end of the war. Ford introduced the bonus built line, which encompassed the entire F-Series, from the half-ton F1 pickup truck to the gigantic F8 intended for industrial use. The F1 was especially successful in the post-war market. Americans were ready to build a new life, and what better to do that with than a pickup truck? The F1 was super easy to work on, so in the unlikely event of breaking down in the pasture, you could usually fix the problem with common tools. The second gen F-Series dropped in 1953, and along with some new engines and updated looks, the trucks were slowly starting to reflect America's changing attitudes towards the pickup. Trucks were becoming less of an appliance and more of an extension of the driver's spirit. Ford gave the new trucks creature comforts like a radio, a dome light, and armrests for your arms. These might seem like small additions, but they were important because these simple features made the truck easier to live with on a day-to-day basis. Ford also changed the name of the F1 to the F-100. In 1959, Ford gave the F-100 a feature that would help define the pickup truck as we know it: 4-wheel drive. Previously, if you wanted 4-wheel drive, you had to buy an aftermarket conversion kit, but now you could 4-wheel it right off the lot, literally. You didn't need roads, you could just drive over some curves and through fields all the way home. This versatility helped make the pickup a symbol of freedom for the American people. In 1965, the F-100 introduced a new style of suspension that gave each front wheel its own axle called twin I-beam. The twin I-beam design let each wheel react to bumps independently. Ford was really proud of their design and showed it off in crazy commercials featuring how much smoother the ride was with the new suspension. Ford was killing the competition with the F-100. The cabs were 3 inches roomier, the chassis was heavier, and it was easier to drive with power steering and brakes. The Ford pickup was the standard that other trucks were measured. Kind of like how Jessica is the standard of how all other women in my life are judged. Miss you. But Ford didn't rest on their laurels, just like I'm not resting on mine. That's not what Americans do. In 1973, Ford gave us the Super Cab. Up until this point, the F-100 had a single bench for 3 people. But now, there were some more seats in the back. Not only could you use the bed for hauling hay, gravel, or lumber, you could also use the cab to haul your family to the market, to the movie theater, to the water park. This marked an important point where the pickup could be a family car. Sort of. In 1975, Ford introduced the F-150, and America's truck, as we know it, had finally arrived. So why add another truck? Basically, the EPA said that any cars that weigh a certain amount have to have catalytic converters and unleaded gas. It's boring. The F-150 had a stronger chassis than the F-100 and could carry more weight in the bed thanks to more leaf springs. After 32 years of service, the F-100 was discontinued in 1980. In the 80s, Ford made the F-150 even more comfortable and efficient in a bid to attract more buyers who could use the truck as a family car. The F-150 now had power windows, power locks, fuel injection, and a sleeker interior, but making the truck more comfortable didn't make it any less capable. Kind of like how I can sit in a recliner, but still do advanced calculus. Ford showed off the F-150's brawn with crazy ads, dropping the truck from cranes and climbing up giant rock piles, with a Chevy chilling in the bed and towing a Dodge behind it. It's like, you. In 1993, on the 45th anniversary of the F-Series, Ford gave America what it didn't even know it wanted: an F-150 made for the racetrack. Ford called it the Lightning, and it featured modified suspension and a 5.8-liter engine, and your choice of red or black paint. The Lightning wasn't just an appearance package, good for straight line speed. It was faster around the track than the Mustang GT, and it could tow up to 8,400 pounds. You didn't need to tow your race car because your truck was your race car. The first Lightning was made for 3 years, till 1996, when Ford gave the F-150 a total redesign. The Lightning returned in 1999 and pretty badass. The new model had a supercharged V8 making 360 horsepower and 440 foot-pound of torque. With all that power and no weight over the rear wheels, it was a burnout machine. The next year, SVT gave it 20 more horsepower, making it the fastest production truck in the world. The Lightning weighed 4,600 pounds and could do 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. That's pretty fast for 2000. 2001 marked the first time the F-150 was offered with 4 full-size doors. Not a big deal, right? Ah! This is when the pickup truck completed its 50-year transformation from utilitarian farm tool to domestic family wagon. And no other truck encapsulated this transition more than the King Ranch Edition F-150. The King Ranch was outfitted with saddle-grade Castano leather seats with heaters, saddlebags to hold your stuff, and a 6 CD changer. What's a CD? One of them shiny records? This truck was a Cadillac with cow sense, a Range Rover for the ranch. This was a truck for work and going out on the town. The King Ranch was named after the King Ranch, one of the biggest and oldest ranches in the great state of Texas, and was meant as a tribute to the hardworking heritage of the Lone Star State. You might expect a truck with a focus on luxury to be a flash in the pan, but you'd be wrong there, buddy. It's been 17 years since the debut of the King Ranch, and Ford is still making them, and they're selling like friggin' hotcakes. Like the gas crisis before it, the economic crisis of 2008 everything up, but it failed to kill the F-150. Ford was doing pretty well at the time and didn't take a bailout from Uncle Sam, but they did ask for a $6 billion loan to retool their factories. Why'd they want the loan? So they could make more fuel-efficient cars and trucks like the EcoBoost F-150. This twin-turbo V6 powered truck made 365 horsepower and 420 pounds of torque. The EcoBoost F-150 could be both a capable hauler and an economically minded vehicle, and reflected Ford's focus, no pun intended, on making more efficient cars. In 2010, Ford gave us another special F-150, and this one was meant to get dirty. It had nearly a foot of suspension travel and was developed by Ford's special vehicle team in Baja, baby, Mexico. They also named it after my favorite animal, the Raptor. Undisputed king of factory off-road racers. The Raptor was originally going to be a successor to the Lightning, but it turns out making a big truck like the F-150 super nimble is actually really hard. So instead, they decided to amplify the truck's DNA.
Dino DNA.
Their words, not mine. And make the Raptor a real off-road racer. They sent engineers out to off-road races like the Baja 1000 to see what that lifestyle was all about. And when they came back, they knew what they needed. Custom suspension, redesigned bodywork, and most importantly, sweet graphics. When the Raptor first debuted, it was available with some naturally aspirated V8s, but the new one is powered by the turbocharged V6 that makes even more power, 450 horsepower, and 500 pounds of torque. These SVT guys don't know when to quit, do they? Well, neither do I. America is made up of people from every background and lifestyle, and there's an F-150 for all of them. You can still get a bare bones 2-door truck for the work site just like your grandpa, or you can get one with 4 doors to take your family to fireworks or 4th of July. The F-150 is one of the unique autos that transcended its original purpose to fulfill a destiny intertwined with the American way of life. Do you need all that space in the bed? Debatable. Do you need to tow anything? I mean, not right now. Will you ever ever go off-road. Who knows? But having a pickup like the F-150 gives you the freedom to do all of those things whenever you want. It's the automotive embodiment of the American spirit, a true symbol for the individual, and in my opinion, the ultimate car of the people. Suck it, Beetle. That's everything you need to know to get up to speed on the Ford F-150. Which gen is your favorite? What's the biggest thing you've ever put in your bed? Mine is Jessica. What's your take on truck nuts? I think they're cool. I think they're weird, but I get it. Still trying to get that Lambo? Send me $1. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Thanks for watching Up to Speed.